Hi everyone, and welcome to the next episode in my Christmas series this year. I have a link to the playlist in my description box below if you missed any previous episodes. Today we're creating some Christmas DIYs using Dollar Tree wood signs. I hope you enjoy today's video. We are using the wood star for our first project, as well as some burlap from Hobby Lobby. I'm going to use the star as a template to draw an outline on the burlap. I'm going to cut that about 1/4 of an inch on the inside of the outline. This will make our burlap smaller than the actual wood sign. Then I'm going to lay that on there to see if I need to trim any excess off. Using Waverly's chalk paint in the color crimson, I'm going to paint this with 2 coats. Now I did paint the front as well as the back. Now we can attach our burlap to the front of the star using some Mod Podge. I'm going to cover the entire front part with one nice even layer, and then apply the burlap directly to the center of the star and add another even layer on top of that, really making sure that I get all of the outside edges as well as the center. If you have any clumps in the center, take a clean paintbrush and blend that in so that it will not have any clumps when it dries. So now that it has dried, we're going to take one piece of twine, fold that in half, and then feed the center of that through the hole at the back of the sign. Then that's going to create a loop in the front. You can pull your 2 ends through and then pull your loop down right there at the top part of the sign. And then we can double knot that on the end to have a nice pretty hanger. I'm also using this beautiful Christmas bundle from Walmart, and I'm going to cut those down into separate pieces so that I can glue them exactly where I want them to be in the center of the sign. I'm also going to go ahead and add that pine cone back in right in the center. Then using some more twine, I'm going to leave a little bit of length at the bottom for a tail and wrap that around 4 of my fingers about 6 times and leave another length on the other end. Then using a piece of extra twine, take those loops off your fingers and then tie that right in the center of the loops. Double knot that. Now you can leave those on as extra tails, but I cut it off so it would only have 2 tails on my messy bow. Then I'm going to attach that right to the top and allow those tails to flow down in front of the star. Our next project is going to be a fun one that I think your kids or grandkids will really enjoy. We're using the wood gingerbread man. I'm going to fill in that hole with some wood filler, and using my hairdryer, I'm going to heat up the glue under the buttons as well as the bow tie so I can take my little spatula tool and gently slide that underneath to be able to remove those. So it does take a little bit of effort, but just take your time so you don't break those pieces. Then we're going to sand everything down and remove all that excess glue. And I'm painting mine with an acrylic brown oxide paint mixed in with water. It's about 1 part paint, 3 parts water. I'm going to paint the entire sign except for the wood pieces that are on the arms and the legs. I'm going to allow that to thoroughly dry, and then I can paint those pieces with white chalk paint. Now I did give those 2 coats to give them a nice bright white color. I'm also going to paint both of those buttons that I've removed in the white chalk paint. Then I'm going to draw out an outfit. So for mine, I am drawing some shorts and some suspenders, but you can draw whatever kind of cute outfit you want your gingerbread man to have. Then I'm going to paint that with 2 coats of the crimson chalk paint and allow that to dry, and I'm also going to paint his bow tie with the crimson paint. Now I drew out his eyes and mouth with a pencil, and I'm going to go over that and fill it in with my oil-based Sharpie. And if you've watched any of my previous videos before, the way I like to make the whites of the eyes are to take the bottom of a paintbrush, and that's going to create those perfect little circles, and then drag that around the sides to kind of give it some more depth. Then we can add those buttons back to the bottom of his suspenders. and also add his bow tie back on. Now, Dollar Tree sells this small container of buttons that are in various sizes, so I picked out 2 of these same type buttons, and I'm going to hot glue those right in the center. Now we're going to take one of Dollar Tree's photo frames and remove all of the twine and clips that are in the middle. And for the backing, we're going to cover it with this beautiful buffalo check vinyl paper. I'm just going to cut it down to a close size of the backing and then attach that directly to the back. Use a credit card or a burnishing tool to push all those air bubbles from the center outwards, and then I can flip that over and trim all of the excess off. Now we can push this back into our frame and add our gingerbread man directly to the center using some hot glue. Now, I think he turned out absolutely adorable. What a fun project, and I think your kids and grandkids will thoroughly enjoy making this. If you are enjoying today's video and you haven't done so already, I would love for you to become part of our community by clicking on the subscribe button right below this video and select all under the notification bell so you'll be reminded the next time I upload a brand new video. For our next project, we are using 2 of their Christmas tree signs. On one of them, I'm going to use my utility knife and score that a few times and then pop the trunk off. We're going to be placing this one on top of the other one to make one tall tree. We're going to use that same beautiful buffalo check vinyl paper to cover these. So the one that does not have the trunk at the bottom, we're going to go ahead and cut a piece down similar to that size and attach it directly in the center. So I'm making sure that my design is lined up exactly where I want it to be in the center of this tree, and then I can burnish everything down, flip that over, and use my utility knife, or you can use a pair of scissors, but because I had so many curves, I found that the utility knife worked better. And we're going to trim all that excess off. Now for the bottom piece, I don't need to cover this entire piece with the vinyl paper. I'm going to line my tree up and make a mark so I'll know exactly where to line this piece up, as well as keep all of the design going in the same direction and everything will be lined up. So we'll cut all of that excess off, and then we can attach our top piece to the bottom piece. Again, because this is the buffalo check, I'm making sure all of the design is lined up. Using some burlap trim from Dollar Tree, these come with 3 different designs on the trim. I'm going to hot glue the beginning of that and then wrap it around the tree where all of those little edges are, and periodically add some hot glue. I'm not going to glue all of it, just periodically glue some to hold it in place. Then once we have that in place, we're going to use some of Dollar Tree's beautiful dark red pitberry garland. We're going to do the exact same thing with it and wrap it around so that it will go directly over top of our burlap. So that burlap strand, I did have to use 2 since one was not long enough to go all the way around. Now we're going to take some burlap ribbon. This is, I believe, 2-inch or maybe 1.5-inch burlap ribbon, and we're going to fold that over to create one loop. Then we'll make another loop at the bottom on the same size. We're going to go around that side at an angle and create a loop, and then come on the opposite side at the bottom, and then we'll do that one more time so you'll have 3 loops on each side. Then I'm going to take a piece of twine and tie that in the center, pull it really, really tight, double knot that, cut that excess twine off, and then fluff and pull out all of those loops to create this really pretty bow to go to the top of our tree. Now I want to make some tails to flow down in the front of the tree. So I'm going to hold up to see about how long I want my ribbon to be. Then I can fold that over in half so it'll be double. And then I'm going to dovetail each of those ends before attaching it to the sign for our tails. So you just kind of fold it over at an angle so that each of the tails will flow down to the side. We're going to hot glue that, and once that glue sets up, I'm going to gently fold these up like an accordion. I'm not folding them very tightly to make creases. I just want to make these really beautiful waves so that when you pull your end piece down, it's nice and wavy on one side. We'll do the exact same thing on the other side. Then we can take our bow and hot glue it directly to the top. You could add some twine to the back to create a hanger and hang this up. I'm going to use some of the tumbling tower pieces from Dollar Tree to create a stand. I'm going to glue two of those side by side and create two sets, and then I'll hot glue one on top of the other so that I can add these to the trunk, making it flush at the very bottom of the sign so that when I stand it up, it can now stand on its own. For this project, we are using one of the gingerbread houses. We're going to use our hairdryer on the high heat setting and just hold it over one of those windows to kind of loosen that glue up, and then very carefully take the Cricut spatula, or Dollar Tree sells these same spatulas, to go over and remove all three windows as well as the snow on the top. Now this one I did do in small sections so that I could lift those sections up at a time without breaking it. And once you get those small sections, you can kind of just pull it straight off. Now I'm using some scrapbook paper. I found this book at Hobby Lobby. It says $9.99, but they had a 50% off sale, so I purchased this for $5, and you get a ton of a beautiful plaid scrapbook paper. So I chose this color, and I'm going to hold that where the design is to kind of line everything up, and then I can trace this out and cut it down. Now, as far as the top, you don't have to cut all those curves. You can cut it a little bit close to the line because we're going to put that snow cap back on top of it. To attach this to the sign, I'm going to use some Mod Podge. I just like to do mine half at a time. I like to hold it in place and make sure everything's going to line up perfectly, and then I can just add the Mod Podge to one side, seal it down, and then go back and add it to the other side. And then I'll set that aside and let everything dry. So while it's drying, I'm going to take those windows that we pulled off and sand any of the excess glue off the back. That's going to be pretty important when we get ready to attach these. I'm also using my handheld miter shears, and I have these listed in my Amazon store. The link's in my description box below if you're interested. Two of the windows are the same size. I'm going to cut that snow cap off of the bottom and then the two little pieces off of the sides, and I'll do that for the other window that's the exact same size. Then I'm going to stain each one of these with my watered down brown acrylic paint mixture, and then I'll fill in the hole at the top of the snow cap with some wood filler. And I'm using this scrap piece of wood that I have. It's 10 inches long, but Dollar Tree also sells those wood slats. And if you can't find those, this will work as well from Dollar Tree. It's just a little bit thicker and longer. I'm going to give everything a nice good sanding, including that wood filler. And then I'm going to paint the bottom of each of the windows with white chalk paint. That'll take about 2 coats. You want to make sure you get those outside edges as well, since you will be able to see those, as well as the snow cap. And don't forget to get the outside edges of those. I'm also going to paint that wood slat on all sides with 2 coats of the white chalk paint. And then I'll let everything dry. I'm also going to take a small wooden bead. I'm putting this on the end of a barbecue skewer so I can easily paint that with some black paint. Now it's time to put our pieces back together. We can go ahead and hot glue our snow cap back on, and we're going to hot glue our gingerbread house to the back of our wood slat. Now we're going to take one of those windows that 2 of them are the same size, and I want to place this on top of the wood slat, so I'm going to have to cut some of that snow off to make it a nice straight edge so it'll sit flat. Then we'll take the other one that's the exact same size. We're going to flip it over and glue it directly to the top so we can create a door. Then we can hot glue our wooden bead for the handle and add our other size window off to the side. Then I'm going to use one of Dollar Tree's bottle brushes and glue that down to the other side. Now, I decided at the last minute I wanted to add one of these wreaths from Family Dollar, and the greenery on it was not the color of my bottle brush tree, so I'm going to go over that with some white chalk paint to give it a nice snowy look and also help it to blend in better with the tree. Now we can hot glue that to the top, and our gingerbread house has been transformed. Our final project in today's video, we are using the Santa sign. I'm going to fill in that hole at the top with some wood filler, let that dry, and sand it down. Using some white chalk paint, I'm going to paint the end as well as the front of his stocking cap, his mustache, and his beard, and I'm going to leave a little bit of space for his mouth or lips right there up under his mustache. Now you can paint your Santa whatever color you want. I'm using the color khaki, so mine's going to have a really cute suntan, and then I'm going to paint his stocking cap with the crimson red chalk paint. Then I'm going to add a little bit of white paint, and then using the brush that I painted some of the fine details on his stocking cap with that has the red, I'm going to blend that in and make a cute pink color. Then I can fill in his mouth area, and using one of Dollar Tree's round sponge applicators, I can dip that into the paint, make sure it's covered, and create his rosy red cheeks. Then I can fill in his eyes with my oil-based Sharpie, and again add the whites of his eyes with the end of my paintbrush. I'm going to use some holly leaves off of a bundle I already had, and I cut one of those off so it will just have two of the leaves, and add some red berries right in the middle. Now we're going to set him to the side for a minute. I have created these free printables. These are on my website, and the link to my website is in my description box. You can go over, click on my website, and go to free printables. You can download this and print them out. They are printed on regular 8.5 by 11 copy paper. So I just added my shading on the back so that I can trace this onto some Dollar Tree foam board. Then very carefully using my utility knife, I can cut these out. Now it does take a little bit of time because of all of the curves, and if you have any little jagged edges, just to make everything smooth, take some fine grit sandpaper and go all the way around it. It's going to give you that perfect finish. I'm going to do the exact same thing for the Y. And then once I have all that cleaned up, I'm going to paint these with 2 coats of the crimson red chalk paint. Don't forget those outside edges. And these are going to match perfect with our Santa. Now I'm reusing the sign that I made in a previous DIY. I'm going to remove the wall art. I can reuse that since I didn't Mod Podge it down. And I'm going to remove all of the ribbon from the back. I'm going to push the 2 pieces together and attach them with some regular craft sticks. So I'm going to line those up and then hot glue them. I do end up adding one more craft stick to the very ends to just really reinforce it and make sure it doesn't move around. So we're going to flip that over and we'll line all of our pieces up to the front. And once I have them exactly where I want them, I'm going to hot glue each one of those down. Then I'm going to create a hanger on the back just using some twine and some ribbon. I'll hot glue the ends of the twine down and then add some ribbon on top to give it some added strength. This project was so fun and so easy to do, and I love how it turned out. It is so pretty. You guys, if you have a favorite out of today's video, let me know in the comments section down below. I always love to know which one is your favorite. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend with me. Please take care, and I will see you guys next time.